bit about my husband, Lou. And so everyone gather around. All right. All right. So I wrote up a few notes. So I'm going to read from them. All righty, because I didn't know if I would be able to capture all of my feelings. Okay. So. Hi everyone. Lou and I are so happy that you're here to celebrate his 60th birthday with us. Each of you holds a very special place in Lou's heart. Our family consistently hears stories about Lou's high school experiences, his college and graduate school experiences, his law school experiences, and our experiences with our Irvington and Hartsdale friends. And last but not least, his work friends, physician friends, and dear family members. We all know that Lou has a great affinity for remembering stories. People's names and instances that bring smiles and laughter, and also has a lesson to learn for someone. Lou has stories about his escapades as a high school athlete, and we laugh and tease him when he points out that his high school every time we drive past it on the Bell Parkway. You may remember, as we hear quite regularly, that Lou went to school with Billy Crystal. I Gary Maraji, an Elmont football player who played for Boston College and went pro.
Gary Maraji.
And we always hear that. Did you know that Vinny Testaverde lived in Elmont? All right. Lou loves to remind us of his role as head of the social committee at Adelphi University.
Student activity. You've been married for how long now? You see what I have to go through?
I didn't want to ask him because I thought he would know I was writing about it. And lessons he learned about leadership and how to communicate with others. He would always tell our children about all of those things. Along the way, he made such great friends, and many of you are here today. His college and law school days, his 3-month trip to Europe, we hear about those details with his friends, is unbelievably vivid in Lou's mind. Law school was difficult, but friendships made up for all the work, long nights of studying, and juggling work, school, and a growing family. Lou's friends from his Einstein days and his stories about working with Jim, Jack, Ed, Stan, Rena, and Eileen are priceless. Lou gets his weekly laughs as Jim and Jack still send him jokes that are sometimes X-rated, always hilarious, and always controversial. Lou's favorite comedians are Jerry Seinfeld, Jackie Gleason, a.k.a. Ralph Cramden, and his good friend Jerry Kornblatt. There are countless stories where Lou quotes aptly from a Seinfeld episode, dances like Ralph Cramden, or tells stories about his adventures with his friend Jerry, who many of you know and is here today. Our friends give us such joy. Many of you live close by, and we have shared experiences, both happy and sad, that have made us better people, better parents, and stronger couples. Summers in Bethany Beach, traveling to far-off lands now that we're a little older and freer, shopping together, eating together, talking together, making new memories are all priceless gifts. Each of you represents a milestone in our lives because of your friendship, your loyalty, and the wonderful memories that we have made together. So allow me to get a little personal. Lou has been a wonderful husband, father, and friend. Still makes my heart leap. That's a good thing, Marshall.
She hasn't with me, Marshall.
Because he's the same man I married, only cuter. Even though we have changed roles, I used to be the neat and clean freak. But now I'm calmer and more accepting, and he likes everything just so. I can live with that. We love to exercise together, and I believe someday we will try yoga or Tai Chi with our friend Norman. He eats my food, laughs at my jokes, and listens to me when it's really important. I'm indeed very fortunate to have married my husband Lou, and look forward to another 60 years together. So I do need to recognize Lou's only brother, Steve, and his wonderful wife, Laura, who is a very dear friend. Steve is 2 years younger, much calmer, easygoing, and a vegetarian. Lou is an avid carnivore, a natural planner, organizer, and perfectionist. Although different in many ways, they're extremely close and share a great love of family, sports, and the arts. So this party is not an event that was planned long ago. We were walking together, and I remembered he was turning 60, and I said, "Do you want a party?" And he said, "Oh yeah."
I said, actually, what I actually said was, "You mean you didn't plan one already?"
So here we are today. We all need to celebrate the milestones in our lives, the happy times, and it's so much more fun when we do it together. So thank you for coming, and now I'm ask my daughter Erica, to say a few words.
Good afternoon. My name is Erica, and on behalf of my brother David, sister Laura, I would like to share a few special things about our dad. Growing up, Lou was always involved in all of our extracurricular activities, including sports and the arts. He was at every game, cheering us on from the sidelines. Dad's voice was always heard as he yelled suggestions and instructions on what we should be doing on the field and on the court. Somewhat reluctant to listen, we always knew that Dad would see the bigger picture, and his suggestions were always accurate. As we grew up, we enjoyed watching Dad play in his over 40 softball league. We found ourselves cheering on the sidelines, hoping that he would hit a line drive and not a pop. Mom was just happy when he would finish the game without a serious injury. Although we joked around, all of us thought that Dad was an excellent coach, great mentor, and always full of team spirit. Although our mom helped us with our homework, Dad was the one who double-checked everything to make sure that it was completed and we were prepared for the next day. When David was at Indiana University, Dad was also able to track David's schedule and remind him of his assignments that were due the next day. A special memory we share is after every weekend activity, Dad would ask if we were hungry. Dad would ultimately suggest a fast food restaurant, which was not encouraged by our mom, but was a great way to share time together and indulge in a hamburger and french fries. One of the things that we would tease our father about is how he pays attention to detail. One example is that before the cleaning lady would come, we would have to prepare a room for her. Lou is also known to walk around the house and move items a little inch here, a little inch there, so that it's in their exact spot. Even though we tease him, his attention to detail has helped us as we've accomplished important milestones in our lives, such as applying to college and graduate school, planning our finances, and making important adult decisions. Over the years, we have been fortunate to take many family vacations. Regardless of our destination, while we were planning and packing, Dad seems to pull out the same shirts and pair them with a pair of shorts and a pair of pants with his polo shirt. Now that we are young adults, we look back and appreciate all of Dad's suggestions and recommendations that we didn't fully understand when we were younger. His values, love, and sincere interest in us have helped guide us become strong and independent individuals who strive to be the best that we can. On this special day, we celebrate our father, Lou, for being a role model who is always there for us and has our best interests. Happy birthday, Dad.
We're getting good stuff on you.
Nothing
So I'm Lou's brother, Steve. And most of you know Lou as an adult. You see him as a well-educated, successful individual with a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and a JD from law school. However, his education got off to a rocky start. My brother started school in the New York City public school system at PS 18. PS 19? 119? Okay. I don't want to say he was a problem at an early age, but his teachers kept calling him special. And not in the Isaac Newton, Albert Einstein type special, more like the Al Bundy, Peter Griffin type. When my parents decided to move out of Queens, PS 18 suddenly became the highest rated school in New York City public school. However, things did not get any better when we moved home. My parents were on a first-name basis with all of my brother's teachers, assistant teachers, and principals. Not just in junior and senior high school, but in elementary school. When they would call, it wasn't to tell them how wonderfully Lou was doing in school. Quite the opposite. However, he was able to get through high school, and when it was time for college, we didn't think he was going to be able to get in. When he went for his college interviews, though, we think that the admissions committee thought that how wonderful it was that he was able to graduate from high school with an obvious mental disability. So he graduated high school. So he graduated college. He wasn't sure what he wanted to do, but he wanted to have an impressive title, a big office, but not do too much work. Hospital administration for the day. So it was easy to get into a program of healthcare administration. You just have to walk and talk at the same time. Very good, guys. So my brother got the big office, the fancy title, and I was able to see firsthand the amount of work that he would do when I visited him at Einstein Hospital. He and his fellow administrators were either playing liar's poker, deciding what to have for lunch, eating lunch, or pulling some employee's file to see how old they were. So smart. We had a bet on how old he was. So Lou met Alice and raised two lovely children and David. And when they were more or less out of the house, they decided to do some more extensive travel. Now my brother kept a diary of these trips, and I was able to copy a few entries. This one's from Egypt. Traveled to Giza today. Had this great hummus and olive sandwich. Flavors were outstanding. Across the road, there are some triangle-looking structures with hundreds of people around them. They must have good dessert over there. Now this one from India. Visited the Taj Mahal today. The food was terrible inside the palace. However, I was fortunately able to find a small stand with great tandoori chicken. When Lou and Alice left India, they flew over the Himalayas. At one point, you could see Mount Everest. The people strained out to look out the windows to see the great peak. But Lou missed it because he hadn't finished his Nepalese delicacy of sweet cake and honey. I was able to witness his obsession with food firsthand when we were in Italy earlier this year. Lou rushed past the Duomo and the Ponte Vecchio and get to the panini stand. When you arrived there, the waiter said, "The usual, Mr. Shepherd?" This next part I didn't write down because I figured this should come from the heart. And you've been a great brother. You always gave me great advice. You always helped me out. I really couldn't have asked for anything else. When Mom and Dad were ill, you were always there doing what needed to be done. I don't say this enough, but I truly love you.
I still want to thank you for the pizza you brought me after I screwed up on the
Are we ready?
Anybody else? Do you have one more?
Yeah, there's Jerry.
Jerry, got next picture. I think you need to come up here. What's that?
Oh, yes,
Hi, my name is Jerry Cornwest, my wife Janice, and we've known Alice and Lou. We've been friends together for over 25 years. I'm very impressed with the turnout. It's a very diverse group, people from all of his areas of his life, from his master's, from his law degree, from his school, all of his work experience. I'm very impressed by that. And I think people really are attracted to you because you're friendly, you're helpful, you're very dedicated to and loyal, carefree, and happy. However, there is a darker side. Despite his calm demeanor, Lou is constantly dealing with an intense emotional conflict. He's having to deal with frustration, disappointment, and even despair. Yes, despair. I know it's hard. Now, Alice, we all know Alice is a wonderful person, caring, incredibly generous, and nurturing. And I can understand why Lou was attracted to her, and that was, he felt very fortunate to have married her. However, Lou had another agenda. He thought, well, marrying Alice, he would also be marrying a nurse, who as he grew older and more frail in emergency situations, would be available to cater to his needs, to minister to him. However, he's been sorely disappointed in this. For example, it started to unravel years ago when we were in Bethany Beach. A group of us go to Bethany every year, and we go to our favorite restaurant, The Farm. And we always have a very long, involved meal. It's a family-style restaurant. And one time when we went there, Lou began to suffer from kidney stones. He was actually writhing in pain. And Alice, I would think, would get up and sit by him and get him to emergent care. But no, she waited until the whole meal was complete, including ice cream, moose tracks, and coffee before taking him to the emergent care center. To make matters worse, when we finally got there and I accompanied them, just to provide moral support. And Lou was waiting for the doctor to administer painkillers. Alice was lecturing him about two of her favorite topics, faces of respect and service excellence. Meanwhile, Lou was waiting for the pain meds and had to bite the bullet until that happened. Things got much worse in more recent times. Recently, Lou has had a basal cell carcinoma size.
Please, cancer, Jerry, cancer.
I don't want to say it, but it was painful. He had to have ambulatory surgery. Alice accompanied there, and then they got home, and he was not himself, still shaky in pain. And no sooner did he get home than Alice exited. Now, after a while, we realized that we were having a friends and family event at Lord & Taylor. Priorities are priorities. So once again, Lou was left in the lurch. Well, recently, poor Lou had a tumor removed from his spine, and he was in the hospital. And the next day, we came to visit him at Roosevelt Hospital, and Lou was helpless. He was lying on his back, couldn't take care of himself. We thought Alice would surely be at his side, taking his vitals, ministering to him. When we got there, Alice was not nowhere to be found. And we couldn't imagine where she was until she came trooping in about an hour later with two brown bags. Then we knew exactly where she was. So Lou helped remedy the situation, to prepare you for the future, if you should have some elective surgery, or even some emerging situation. Number one, we put you on a mailing list of Bloomingdale's, Lord & Taylor. This way you could be known in advance when there's a sale. If you have to schedule an elective procedure, you can send one that doesn't conflict with any sale. In addition, we have obtained a personal emergency alert system. For those people who don't know what this is, it's generally for frail elderly people who live alone, and if they fall on the floor and they can't get to a phone, they can push a button. We have programmed this hers to get to Bloomingdale's, and they will page Alice immediately. Now, in addition to Lou's expectation, which has been disappointed about Alice's role in taking care of him in his home for me, Lou has also had this fantasy, which has not been actually realized, of Alice wearing a uniform and minister to her in a uniform. And this being his 60th birthday, we thought Alice would make a concession and at least put on his hospital honey. There are actually other aspects, so I really think we could push the envelope there, like garters and other things. But we thought, Alice, just for today,
I'll think about it.
Now, Lou is a wonderful father, and he has terrific kids. They're very hardworking, sensitive, and bright, and caring. However, there have been issues with his kids as well, which brings a lot of tension. David, when he went to college, he was very ambitious, and in order to try and defer the cost of tuition, he started to set up a business to cut fellow students' hair. Of course, it's probably useless to buy beer, but Lou was very proud of it. He was a little surprised when David came back to the house and continued to cut hair in the house for himself and others, because Lou is somebody who likes, as all of us, a neat and clean house. In fact, some of his family think he's a little obsessive, especially when it comes to vacuuming. For example, when his first child was born, Erica, he wanted to actually name her Electra. And David could have been named Hoover. Not for Alice. So you can imagine how upset Lou is when he goes into the bathroom and finds hairs all over the place. So to help to prevent this from happening again, Michael was kind enough to give him a professional smock. So when cutting your hair, David, you can use it. Here you are. Now, also, David has been very interested in the economy. So much so he's tried to save money on gas. This has resulted in David running out of gas on a number of occasions. Although has been having to provide roadside assistance at any time and any weather. So to prevent this from happening, so you don't have to worry about is he going to run out of gas? We purchased this for David. David, would you take this, please?
Thank you for the thoughtful gift.
Now, there are also some issues with Eric. I know that Erica thinks she's an excellent bride. And actually, she's had a run of bad luck. Other drivers seem to find her car. So much so that Lou has had to be at Gucci's body repair shop many, many times. So much so that people think he's an employee.
Well, John is here, you know. So,
Not only
we pay for John's education.
But not only does the people think he's an employee, the other day, one of the customers asked Lou for an estimate for the body bag. To make you more comfortable while waiting at Gucci's, we have gotten your own coffee mug with a picture of Brandy on the front. So when you're there, you can have your coffee and be comfortable. Now, Lou is also considered a very, very good father. So much so, everybody's been so impressed at the fact that he's made solo flights to see his daughter, Laura, in Michigan, on a number of occasions. For some of us who are a little skeptical about his motivation in going there, since it's a world-famous deli, Zingerman's there, and we suspect that his motivation in going to see Laura without Alice being present has not only to do with Laura, but getting to Zingerman's. In fact, most people would be very happy about their daughter's graduation. Louis is a little ambivalent about this. He's relieved because he knows he can't make any more solo flights to Michigan and get to Zingerman's. However, we have resolved this issue. We have the online Zingerman's menu. And you can order any of the delicacies there online and actually have it delivered to your office so it doesn't put you in conflict with that. Now, okay, there is another issue. Now, when we married Alice, not only did he think he was getting a nurse, a skilled and excellent, competent nurse, but also, given that Alice is of Italian descent, I think Lou always expected she would make a hearty Italian meal. Spaghetti and meatballs, veal parmesan, steak. That hasn't been the case with us. In fact, I know that Stephen and Lou have told me about their childhood and about, Nana was a wonderful, wonderful parent. She was not an excellent cook. In fact, the only reason they survived was because of Chicken Delight. They had an arrangement with Chicken Delight that they would deliver under any circumstances, even in the dead of winter. Snowstorms, Chicken Delight was there. Anyhow, when we went down to Bethany most recently, Lou likes to take walks on the beach from where we stay to the town, which is about half a mile away. For years, Alice thought this was a good idea, that this is an opportunity for Lou to get exercise. But then I think she realized that there was Five Guys hamburger store in town and became increasingly suspicious. To the point where last Memorial Day, a despicable act occurred. Alice and my wife, I'm sorry to admit, tracked Lou and I in town. Now I have no interest in hamburgers, I just bought them. But they hoped to catch us in Five Guys. When they got into town, they actually found us in a pet shop. Luckily, we had just eaten at Five Guys. But to protect you, to prevent you from feeling uptight in case when you go into town, so nobody will recognize you, not even Alice. We have prepared something for you. Put this on. Looks like it. Now you don't have to worry about it. You can go to town without having to feel any uptight or anything else.
But not the farm.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, the final thing, Lou.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The final thing is probably the most painful. It's hard for me to reveal this, but I must. Usually when we come to Alice and Lou's house for dinner, I usually take scraps of food and put it under the table for Brandy to eat. The last time we were there, I couldn't believe this, but I put my hand on the table with scraps of food, and Lou was there under the table, pushing aside Brandy. The poor man has been starved. Some protein hasn't had red meat in a long time. So to prevent this from happening, he's got Lou his own dog bone. Just 2 more minutes. Now, Lou, we know how the party was in it. Meat, protein, and desserts. So, to remedy that situation, we have done several things. One is a very famous ice cream parlor in Bethany and in Ocean City, actually. And here we have a gift certificate for that ice cream parlor and a restriction. It can only be used for black cherry, black raspberry sundaes with shakes at dumpsters. We haven't finished. In this box, it's not a ring. It's a coin for Bethany Blues, which is a rib place in Bethany. But it has a certain restriction. It can only be used for ribs or meat.
No fish.
No fish. And
I'll take that.
There you go.
And last but not least, we have here for Big Fish, a gift certificate. That's one of our favorite seafood restaurants, which is known for their wonderful desserts. And also there's a restriction only to be used for rice pudding or other comparable desserts. Thank you.
I guess it's my time to get back to everybody. But I won't. I just really want to thank you all for coming to me. As you've heard, family and friends have always meant a lot to Alice and I. And we have really been blessed to have such great friends. And whether it's spending, holidays at the Cornblatts with the Duckers and the Perlins, whether it's traveling literally around the world with Norm and Eileen, our travel partners, our Irvington friends. When I think back, I guess it was 19, 20 years ago when Becky said, when we were looking to move, and Becky said, you have to move to Irvington, you'll fit right in. Boy, you couldn't have been more right.
Thank you, Becky.
Spending, our friendships really developed probably through our kids on soccer fields and theater productions and Girl Scouts and whatever, but even though our kids have grown older, our friendships have endured and continue on, and we're actually having more fun now than we did back then. And I thank you for that. For the Einstein crew, as Eileen said, we never had more fun working together than we did at Einstein Hospital. And Ronnie, for Jack, Ronnie and Jack have 5 daughters, and I've been Jack's adopted son for all these years. But he never fails to tell me that he's failed as a father. and Jack has been, my adopted father. Jim has really been our big brother. I mean, for the younger ones at Einstein Hospital, he's the one who taught us probably the most. And when he taught us...
He taught us how to look up the ages of all these...
But what he taught us was really more important. When we first started out, in healthcare, it was the days where you could, in theory, shake down vendors for, whether it was for free lunches or trips or whatever. The one thing that Jim taught us was to be honest and have integrity. And we all behaved that way through our careers. And I think that was really a lesson and something that we appreciate him for. And we're happy he's here today. To my cousins, we've rekindled, our friendships over the years. Jerry, are the Giants winning?
We're still winning.
And we've rekindled our friendships, and I promise Jeffrey next year when we go to Cooperstown again, I won't snore. Jeffrey asked me when we went there, we shared a room, he said, do you snore? I said, no, I don't snore. And the next morning he said, you snore? So it's really been, a pleasure. I mentioned about my graduate school friends earlier on. John wasn't here when I asked Angela to say our prayer. We've known each other for almost 40 years now. It's absolutely incredible. And as I said, I've just been blessed, and I thank you all for coming today. I thank my wife for putting this together.
She's still in put on her head.
Tonight. Tonight's the night.
I'm saying you're going to be disappointed again.
Keep hope on that.
And just one other thing, talking about Irvington friendships. So one of the things I recall, and you guys may not remember, when my dad wasn't doing well in Florida, I called the Frimmets and I got Judy on the phone and I said, Judy, I need to speak to Richie. My dad's not doing well. And she said, I said, he's not home now. I said, well, when you speak to him, just have him give me a call, nothing urgent. I'm telling you, within 5 minutes, Richie calls. And I told him what was going on, and he said, when you get off the plane, go down the floor, get off the plane, come to the hospital, call me, I'll meet you in the emergency room. And those are the kind of things that friendships are like. And when we're talking about doctors, Dr. Nathan Marshall is here today. And when I had my back surgery, I was in Roosevelt Hospital, and I wasn't going to tell anybody.
Alone.
There. That's right, alone. And I had it on a Friday, and on Saturday morning, about 8 o'clock, who comes walking into the room? Marshall. And I'm going, Marshall, what are you doing here? Why are you here? And he's not paying any attention to me. I'm trying to have a conversation. He's looking at the monitors, he's touching the things that doctors do. He touches me, he's doing this, he's doing that. And then after about 5 or 10 minutes, he says, all right, you're okay now, we can talk. Those are the kind of things that I can never repay anybody. It's just, friendships, family, and just, experiencing things together over all these years is really something that I appreciate and value and look forward to another 60 years doing this with you guys. Thank you so much.
30 years.
We didn't know when we used to do the 80